Apollo 11 astronaut reveals a spooky secret about the mission to the far side of the moon. The Apollo 11 mission would stand as one of humankind's pinnacles forever. Some viewers might recall it that led to the safe return of a man to the moon. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin were viewed by the Apollo 11 mission as courageous men who achieved history by becoming the first people to set foot on the moon. Nevertheless, there was a third astronaut on that flight who was less well known than the first two. This astronaut's name was Michael Collins, and because of the part he performed in the mission, he is still mostly unknown. Unsettling information discovered by astronauts during their voyage to the moon has been shared by Michael Collins. What could they have discovered on the moon that is so unsettling? One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind, is what Neil Armstrong famously said after taking his first steps on the moon. Michael Collins stayed behind in the spaceship orbiting the moon, while Buzz Aldrin followed them as they traveled on the lunar surface. Our predecessors used primitive tools to study the moon, a natural wonder, learning about its impact on tides and calendars, as well as linking it with stories and legends. Unmanned probes and orbiters were used in the earliest lunar missions to gather important data about the moon's conditions and geology. These successes fueled the ambition to send people to the moon, especially during the Cold War, when the race for space between the US and the USSR was a source of pride and a contest of technological superiority. To send a man to the moon and bring him back safely was the aim of the 1969 American Apollo mission. The historic Apollo 11 mission was the culmination of the Apollo program's several stages of development and testing. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin landed on the moon on July 20th, 1969, with Michael Collins staying inside the spaceship. Aldrin and Armstrong were the first humans to set foot on the moon, and before they returned to the main ship, they conducted scientific experiments. The three astronauts successfully completed their mission on July 24th and splashed down in the Pacific, achieving a dream of mankind and paving the way for further space exploration. As a test pilot and astronaut, Michael Collins had an accomplished career. Born in Italy, he was raised in a military family, and in Washington, D.C., he discovered his love for astronomy and aviation. After receiving his West Point diploma, he joined the Air Force and flew sorties during the Korean War. He later joined NASA and underwent training for the Gemini and Apollo missions. He flew into space for the first time on the Gemini 10 mission, and he was subsequently assigned to the famous Apollo 11 mission, where he was a member of the crew that made history by being the first humans to set foot on the moon. In his brilliant career and professional life, his contribution was a monumental achievement. As the commander of the command module during the Apollo 11 mission, Michael Collins was a key player. His job was to manage and maintain the command module Columbia, while Armstrong and Aldrin explored the moon, albeit being distant from it. This position entailed performing precise rendezvous and docking maneuvers, as well as assuring a flawless undocking of the lunar module. Collins had a long list of responsibilities, including keeping track of systems and keeping in touch with mission control. Without his work, the mission would not have been as successful, as any rendezvous and docking mistakes may have put the mission's overall success and the safety of his fellow astronauts in danger. Beyond performing mechanical duties, Michael Collins played a significant role in the Apollo 11 mission. He made sure he was in top shape since he was the command module's pilot and was the only way he could return to Earth. He also served as the crew's primary means of communication with mission control, relaying important observations and real-time images of the moon. Collins performed his duties with poise and serenity, despite being unable to investigate the lunar surface. He recognized the significance of his function as a middleman and showed constant commitment. The success of the Apollo 11 mission was greatly aided by Michael Collins. The trans-terrestrial injection, a crucial maneuver to return to Earth from lunar orbit, included him significantly and was a key part of it. Collins maintained the ship in lunar orbit for 21 hours, in moments of total solitude, despite being physically isolated from his crew members on the moon. He may have been in the background, but his commitment and technical know-how were crucial to the mission's success. Collins exemplifies the mission's collaborative and collective spirit. and it is safe to say that his introspective time alone on the ship had a lasting influence on him. Because there is no radio on the far side of the moon, Collins became the most alone man there ever was. Surprisingly, Collins described his experience as serene loneliness rather than bleak loneliness. Because there was no radio transmission throughout each orbit, he was unable to contact his team members or mission control on Earth. Despite not having stepped foot there, he is nevertheless the first person to have seen the far side of the moon all by themselves. While on board Apollo 11 spacecraft, the crew endured radio silence as they orbited the moon. Conversely, Collins could only communicate once he was on the near side of the moon, which is the side that faces Earth. Radio astronomy works best on the moon's far side because there is little radioactivity and no radio interference. There is no need for human activity to interfere in order to detect faint signals from the sun or other locations. On the contrary, the near side of the moon experiences radio interference from Earth, making it challenging to obtain precise readings for other signals. Astronomers have taken an interest in the far side of the moon because it lacks a significant ionosphere, making it a site of radio quiet and complete stillness. As part of the Chang'e Formation, China became the first country to successfully land a rover on the far side of the moon in 2019. With the aid of a tiny antenna placed in the Von Karman crater, which is part of the South Pole King Basin, the rover carried very low-frequency astronomical observations. In addition, near the L2 Lagrange point, when gravity forces are balanced, the rover communicates with Earth via a relay satellite. Despite having communication difficulties, the far side of the moon is intriguing and offers a variety of options for exploration. Collins was the first to feel the extreme isolation there, but as he floated in orbit and observed the Earth from a distance, he discovered serenity and a new perspective. He contemplated his position in the great universe while appreciating the beauty of the planet. Despite feeling alone, he kept busy and concentrated on the success of Apollo 11. While getting ready to dock with his team, Collins experienced calm, satisfaction, and solitude during the space's quiet moment. He had the unique opportunity to see the far side of the moon and all of its beauty while orbiting it, a rough and cratered landscape that was unseen from Earth. Collins observed Earth as a tiny, frail blue ball in the vastness of space while orbiting the moon. He was profoundly affected by the stunning sight. This change of perspective, also known as the big picture effect, altered his perception of the Earth and his position within the cosmos. He felt a stronger feeling of connection to all species on the planet and a growing sense of environmental responsibility. After the Apollo 11 mission, he developed a fierce enthusiasm for protecting the environment and promoting policies that maintain the natural balance of the planet. In order to save rather than destroy our planet, he yearned for political leaders to view it from his viewpoint. Collins' sense of isolation and isolation from others caused him to ponder on the meaning of the cosmos and his place in it, which enhanced his spiritual viewpoint and his belief in an ordered cosmos. This drove Collins to confront existential concerns and change his beliefs. Collins saw himself as the loneliest man in honor during that time. Yet he also found beauty in space and thought deeply about life and how to best preserve our planet.